Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another tutorial with FBDesignz. I am your host, Rob, and today we're going to be learning how to track footage so we can add things to the walls and the ground if we choose to. So without further ado, let's get started. Let's jump on over to After Effects. Now, as you can tell, I've already taken my footage, dropped it into a new composition, trimmed it up so we have the areas that we want to work in, which is going to be over here to the right and over here to the left, like you've seen in the preview. Now, there's a couple things you want to keep in mind when you're doing this, and the first thing is the length of your footage. The longer your footage is, the longer it's going to take to track camera in After Effects. It's a notorious system hog, so these are things that you're going to want to keep in mind. And to get this started, and we could talk as this is going, let's hit the track camera. Make sure render track points is on. 3D solved is fine. Fixed angle of view is fine in this case with this footage, but you will be able to change it to variable zoom if you have footage that zooms in and out a lot, or you can specify an angle of view. Now, this footage should only take about a minute. As you can see, it's only 384 frames, so that's relatively quick. It'll take about a minute. And this is why I wanted to explain that you want to try to keep your footage as short as possible. Also, the other thing to take into consideration is, from everything that I've read about this, you want to have full resolution when you're doing your tracking. It helps the tracker do a better job in being able to render points on flat planes to make it easier to add footage, as you'll see once it renders through. If this were any longer, I would go ahead and just fast forward, but considering it's only about a minute, I'll sit here and talk with everybody and let this finish, and we can carry on. Now, as soon as this is done, it'll only be a couple more seconds beyond that, because it wants to solve the camera. And then this create camera button will turn white. See, as you can see, solving camera. But this is the quick part of the progress right here. So then we go ahead and hit create camera, and as you can see down here, we have a 3D tracker camera now, and we have these points on the wall. And what you want to do now, when you see this red target, it's triangulating 3 spots. In this case, you can see this gray area here. That's telling us that it's triangulating from this point to this point to that point. And generally, you want to try to use 3 planes, because that's pretty much telling you that it's flat against that surface. So let's right click, create solid, and it's going to put up a big ugly blue background. But that's okay for right now. So we're going to take care of that problem here in a second. Let's scroll forward and find us a nice spot. Yeah, there we go. Let's create solid. That looks pretty good. Now, you could also take these singly and do things like add text. And I'm sure people have seen these where the text stands still but the camera keeps moving. This is how they do that. I'll do another tutorial using 3D text and whatnot. If people want to know how to do that, just leave me a comment down below, and I'll go ahead and do a tutorial about that also. But for right now, we're going to back on out of there. We'll get rid of that. We're going to go over here to our first track solid. We're going to right click. We're going to go pre-compose. We'll leave it named the default. That's fine. We can leave the attributes. That's fine also. Click OK. Then we're going to come back down to this comp, double click, go inside, highlight this solid, hit delete on your keyboard, and all that did was just delete that big blue ugly box. Let's take, in my case, this is FBDesignz intro that we're going to replace this with. As you can tell, the composition settings aren't quite right. And if you go up here, you can see what the composition setting resolution is. And we want to adjust that. So with this layer highlighted, we'll come on up here to composition, composition settings, and we will change this to 1920 by 1080. And there we go. We can exit out of this, go back to our main composition, and there we go. Now what we need to do is take this, go into our transform, and we want to scale this down a little bit. And we want to take and go on the Z-axis and twist it a little bit. We'll scale it down just a little. Let's switch that back. We'll go to our scale. We'll move it over slightly. And there we go. Let's see how that came out. And as you can tell, it's sticking right to that spot. Now, of course, you could take the time and tweak this out a little bit better. I kind of use the side of this window to keep this in line. Depending on the camera angle, the perspective is going to look, may look a little off, so you may want to take the time and tweak it out in these settings over here. But for the purpose of this tutorial, this is just fine. And as you can tell, it's playing the intro up there on the wall as the camera's moving past. So moving on, let's go to the second track solid. Again, highlight it, right click, pre-compose. We will leave it the default name, leave the attributes where they are, that's fine. Double click, go into our footage. Again, highlight the awful pink box, hit delete on your keyboard. And for this, we're going to drag down this screenshot that I took of FBDesignz, and as you could tell, again, the composition settings are off. So we're going to go by these settings up here, 1486 by 310. We'll go up here to composition settings, type in 1486 by, what was it, 310? Yes, 310. And there we go. Exit out of this, go back to our footage, and there it is. We'll open up our transform. We'll do a little tilt. Now, most of your rotation, I noticed, is going to be on your Z rotation, which is kind of weird, I think, because most of the time Z deals with depth in a 3D setting, so it's kind of weird, but I guess not really for rotation. Let's go to our scale. Scale this down a little bit so it's a little bit more manageable. We'll go ahead and move this forward. As you can see, like there's a power line or something going up that wall there. And in the preview, I kind of left it going over that. And it looks like we can do a little bit of twisty. Right about there. That looks pretty good. It looks pretty even along that roof ridge up there. Another thing that I want to bring to everybody's attention is in the original footage, you can see more of these leaves. Now, if you go back to the original footage, you can tell that this banner up here overlaps these leaves. Now, the way to get rid of that is to mask out the part of the design, the part of the sign that is masked, that is over the top of the leaves. And of course, that you'll have to do a few frames to do that, but that's how you deal with that problem. And there you go. Now you have footage firmly stuck to a surface in your shot. And as the camera goes by, well, here, we'll go ahead and render this out a little bit so you can see for yourselves. Oh, I'm sorry. My intro has audio in it, so let me turn that off. And here we go. And as you can tell, as we're going by, the intro is playing up there. Now you could tweak this out a little bit further and do some color correction on this so the sign fits the coloring of the shot of the footage, you know, like add a little bit more yellows and blues, or, you know, stuff to that effect. But this was just a simple tutorial to show everybody how to, you know, stick images to walls or video, or, you know, like I said earlier, you can use this to take footage of a billboard on the side of the road that you drive past and add your own images on it and stuff like that. So I hope this helped everybody. Until the next tutorial, take care, everybody. See you on the next one.